What is up, basketball fans? This is Zero Gravity, Apollo Media's NBA podcast brought to you by Big City Wings, Houston's wing joint, Apollo's wing joint. Go check them out if you're in the Houston area. They got great people, great beer, great wings over at Big City Wings. Shout out to Celebrity Mint. Go check out celebritymint.com to see their awesome graded legal tender collectibles of Mike Tyson, Ric Flair, and more. They are going to be involved in that Mike Tyson, Jake Paul fight as well. The Celebrity Mint is involved. U.S. coins and jewelry as well. So go check them out at celebritymint.com and go check out Prize Picks. If you're into daily fantasy apps, Prize Picks has got you covered. Use code Apollo when you sign up and get up to $100 matched on your first deposit when you use code Apollo and sign up with Prize Picks. It's a daily fantasy app where you hit more or less on each pick for each player, for each sport. You got them all at Prize Picks. Use code Apollo when you sign up. I am joined, as always, by the What We Learned Houston Rockets Edition King, Josh Garcia. We're both coming off of losses last night, and it's not feeling as good. So,
yeah, there was much less assholery in that statement or that introduction, I guess, which I appreciate it. You're coming back down to earth a little bit, as am I. Back-to-back days getting fucked up on dollar hot dogs and stadium beers. Pay Kyle Tucker if they're going to be $20 beers. That's not normal. This is like World Series prices, but for 81 plus games a year. This is ridiculous. But as for right now, I think the Astros are 1-1 per Apollo Dez. Astros forecast guy. Looking to be hopefully 2-1. We're doing pretty well tonight. Jordan, little bounce back game. It feels good. We're right. How are we feeling?
We'll see. I do have this on another screen. So if I keep looking to my left, you understand that I'm watching an Astros game, and I'm also wanting to figure out if I could turn on the Stars game as well at the same time. That'd be too much to do while I'm podcasting. So we're not going to do that. We'll turn on the Stars game afterward. No biggie. But yeah, the Astros 1-1 on the season. Feels good. Opening day, no hitter, not a big deal. Only been done one other time, and opening day was later. So it's the earliest no hitter in history. So good for Ronel Blanco.
Yeah.
There it is. This is a basketball pod. Josh, let's just go ahead and get into it. Is this in memoriam Houston Rockets 2023-2024 season? Are the play-in hopes dead? Are we still keeping the hope alive? How are we feeling after back-to-back losses, unfortunately, to the Dallas Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves, and also Golden State getting a win against the Mavericks last night doesn't help your cause at all? Are the play-in hopes dead?
They're about as dead can be. Maybe if you're a cat, you got like maybe you're like an 18-year-old cat who has like no knee movement or leg movement, is just kind of like wobbling around. Like, we're still alive, and I think that this Warriors game tomorrow, Thursday, if you're listening to this, is just going to be nuts. I think that this is going to be the determinator of the season. I'm trying to cope. I'm trying to feel okay, but it does stink. I hate it. And just knowing that the Rockets have won 11 in a row this season, we've had multiple stints. I think God, this feels like a lifetime ago, but 6 wins at the beginning of the year after the 3 losses. There was a solid 30 games where it was like 3 wins, 6 losses, 3 wins, 3 losses, 3 losses, 6 wins. Like, weird,
it was very strange
stuff
for a while.
Only an Ime Udoka led team could do something like this. But just knowing that the Rockets are going to be fighting for the Timberwolves and the Thunder for a 1 seed next year, ooh, can you wait? I can't.
That was a statement. That was a sentence that was said. The Rockets were a strange team this year. The first half of the season, you're like, or the first like 2 months of the season, you're like, okay, like this kind of sucks, like the ping pong, the back and forth, but we're surviving. We're like right at 500. You were like a top 6 seed like a month and a half into the season. You're like, okay, this is weird. I like this. This is good. And then it all went to shit for several months. And then all of a sudden, Şengün gets hurt and Jalen Green turns into a good basketball player for a solid month. You win, 11 straight games? And you're like, okay, play-in hopes are not dead. In the West, which is an absolute bloodbath. Like, it's the strongest West that we've seen in I don't know how long. Top to bottom, essentially, we could end up with 11 over 500 teams, which has never happened in NBA history on one side of the conferences. So, it's tough for Rockets fans right now because you had 11 games in a row, and you're like, play in. We coming. This is awesome. This is sick. Ime Udoka, it's like they figured something out. Jalen Green figured something out, and all of a sudden, it's all kind of like not necessarily gone out the window. Like, it very much could still happen because the Warriors could very much fall apart. We've seen it several times this year. But you're also the Rockets, and I don't have faith, unfortunately.
One last shot,
I
brother.
want them in the play-in. I would rather them be in the play-in than Golden State.
Sure.
I don't want to see Golden State in the playoffs just because they've done it before, and Steph Curry still can give you 50, and it's terrifying. Like, I mean, they beat the Mavericks last night, and it was the end of the road trip. It was a 5-game road trip where they almost swept it. They were won 7 games in a row, 11-1 or 12-2 in their last 14 games, something like that. So they've been on the tear for the month of March. It had to end at some point. They weren't just going to win out the rest of the season. So the Warriors are still good, but they could also just be bad. I don't know. It could happen. But I think you're getting to the point with the Rockets where Ime Udoka's influence has actually seeped into the team, which is what I thought was going to happen like January, February of the season. And it didn't really happen until March. But it's a different team than he had in Boston. Like, it took Boston until after Christmas to figure it out, and then all of a sudden they go on a tear and they are like the 2 seed or 3 seed or whatever in the East and make their run to the finals and all that when Udoka was the coach there. So I thought it was going to take some time. I just didn't know how much time it was going to take. Obviously, it took a little bit longer than Rockets fans would have liked, but there's hope at the end of the there's light at the end of the tunnel, right? Like, the season's not completely lost because Jalen Green looks very good. Even in the Mavericks game, Jalen Green didn't look bad. He just wasn't hitting the layups. Like, he was hitting all the right cuts. He was getting to the basket efficiently. Should have probably gotten a few more foul calls than he got in that game against the Mavericks. Like, plain and simple, he should have, but he hasn't earned the superstar calls yet, and he hasn't earned, like, I guess, normal foul calls yet because you have to do that because Luka doesn't get normal foul calls. So, I mean, like, you got to earn them, I guess, or just be a certain player.
Right.
But the way he was still being able to cut through the defense essentially and get to a position to put the ball near the hoop is something that he wasn't doing earlier in the season, or it was like reckless. It wasn't reckless against the Mavs. It just, the shot was not falling, and that's all it really was. I didn't watch the Timberwolves game. I would assume it's kind of much the same. I think the Rockets are going to be fine next season. Like, if they don't make the play-in this year, it's not the worst thing that's ever happened to you.
I truly think that once Jalen Green magically figured this out, and of course memes aside and everything, that once you see his confidence layer just oozing out of the basketball, out of his head, out of his long, luscious, beautiful hair, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, he does. Yeah, truly. I really, really think that this is just the difference maker is, once he fully became like real deal confident and started getting a little more calls, because the stinkers that Jalen Green was putting up, I'm not talking game wise. I'm talking like he comes down for a possession, dribbles it for 10, 15 seconds, takes this terrible drive and just airballs or shoots it over the backboard, which has happened way too many times this season. It made me feel like I was watching at times like a smaller Thanasis at points, which is not something that you want a number 2 pick to be compared to, but I'm just saying it was bad at points. But now we're just seeing him completely redefined and refined as a player. His confidence is just oozing out. Like I said, the way he's taking his shots, like, I think more than anything, the Rockets getting national media coverage for the first time since like 2020. Nice. That more than anything feels really good. And of course, the wins and everything have felt, should feel and do feel greater. But in that moment, I was like, oh, ESPN posted the Rockets 4 times last night. I woke up to the Rockets getting posted 4 times. What? Wow. This hasn't happened since Harden and Westbrook. Look, imagine Steven Silas with this team. I mean, well, I don't think. Imagine Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet getting coached by Steven Silas.
I'm just not going to imagine that.
Yeah. No. But overall, seriously, this team has made crazy strides. And if we end up winning against Golden State, I mean, I'm not saying, the hopes are dead now, but at least there will be something that we can really hold on to until the next game. And I think there's 5 or 6 games left in the season. We got about 2 weeks left. Yeah. So all hands on deck, I guess.
Fight to the death. It's a fight to the death, fight to the end of the season, which if you're a Rockets fan and you've experienced the last, 3 seasons, you're happy with this. You should be happy with it. Like, even if you don't make the play-in, you should be happy with relative success that you've had this season in the latter half.
Yes.
Without Şengün, you see Jalen Green progress, into something that you thought you might get as a number 2 overall pick in the lottery. Jabari Smith Jr. has found a new role on the team, being the center, the small ball 5, if you will. He's shooting very well. Like that Mavericks game, he was just drilling threes in the first half. I was like, this is what Jabari Smith was supposed to be the whole time. Like lockdown defense, except for Luka was hunting him the whole game. But Luka will hunt whoever he wants.
Finger roll.
The finger roll from the 3-point line is still fucking stupid. God. Like it could have been anybody guarding him. Like it just still would have been fucking stupid. But Jabari Smith Jr. finding a role on this team where I think it's going to fit in the future, even if when Şengün comes back for next season, if not the end of this season, like there's a role for Jabari. Jalen Green looks, I'm not going to say superstar, but athletically gifted and starting to figure out the game in the NBA, which is all you could really ask for after watching the first half of the season. You're like, can you just do the right things, please? And then
that's all we
obviously
want
Dylan
here.
Brooks, he's been fine. For what
PU vibes
he's been
for a minute there.
Being paid, it's a little rough, but you get the fire out of him. Like you get a defensive minded person where he's going to be the leader in the clubhouse whenever you got to go to a fight. You got him on your side. You got brass knuckles on your side, essentially. You've got some fire. You got some dog in you, which you need. You absolutely need in the NBA. So, and Fred VanVleet is getting paid a significantly amount more money than Kyrie Irving. So I always like to point that out because it's very funny that he's getting paid so much more money than Kyrie Irving, and Kyrie Irving is so much better at basketball than Fred VanVleet. But you've seen so much progress this season, and you've seen a great jump in the month of March. See what you can do to close the season. It's not completely dead, but it doesn't look good.
Yeah, this is the closest we will be to dead unless we just lose against Golden State, and then it's like officially over. But like I said, as for right now, this is just so nice to be involved, not only in conversations nationally, locally. Like you feel a little bit more when you watch the games. You see maybe not the lower bowl of Toyota Center packed out, but you see the upper deck a little packed out, and you're like, oh, this shit means something to somebody, because those corporate seats are never going to get full. Even if the Rockets are in the NBA Finals, there will still be 2,000 empty seats. I've always had, ever since I was a kid, I've always had an issue with that. I've always imagined myself, oh, if I could be courtside, I'm sitting there from an hour and a half before tip off until 30 minutes after the game ends, let alone people just showing out at what like middle of the second quarter. Houston has a fan problem sometimes. That's a whole other conversation. It's just a tardiness which I-10, 288, I-45 completely understand at most times, and then you have to go pay $40 to park 5 blocks away from the stadium, in what should be a walkable area. And anyway, this is a conversation for another day. I'm just really pissed off because I've been outside at sporting events the past 3 days. Saw Cooper Flagg on Monday. He did not participate in any. I thought he was going to do the dunk contest. He's 6'10".
Yeah, he's a large human being, a fellow Duke Brotherhood member with me as well. Yep,
there it is. Yeah, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, the Rutgers guys. They showed up and showed out. There was at one point, I think it was Bailey who was in the dunk contest. He did a behind the back, like between the legs little deal, almost hit it, but Tracy McGrady was out of his seat. T-Mac was in the building next to Paul Wall, next to Bubba Wallace. Nightmare blunt rotation, if you ask me, but it was cool to see it. Yeah. And then you had Grimace and Ronald McDonald just behind all of them for photo ops. It was truly like a nightmare. Like if I was under the influence of anything, I would have been so terrified. But thank God I wasn't, because I really got to experience that greatness that maybe only 1,000 other people did, because that shit was funny as hell.
Yeah, if you want more coverage for the McDonald's All-American game, go over to Apollo NBA and follow our boy Kenny. Kenny Mirabueno is covering the McDonald's All-American game for Apollo, so he's going to get you with all the flicks, all the videos, all the coverage. So go over there. Speaking of McDonald's All-Americans, I don't think he was one, but Bronny James, he was. Well, all right. Yeah, transfer portal. He's entering the transfer portal, which doesn't mean he's leaving USC technically, but it could mean. I mean, he has the opportunity to leave. Where do we see him going? what is the goal with this necessarily. I think this means that we're entering an era of LeBron leaving LA or retiring entirely after the season.
Yeah. If Bronny ends up staying another year in school, because he's only going to get drafted based on
Yes.
name right now. And think about it. And then, of course, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I don't have any issues with
Yeah.
Bronny James. Everyone knows LeBron is my king, my GOAT. But from what I've seen with Bronny this year, I know he had the pretty much heart attack in
Yes.
July, which is insane to think about. He had a heart attack on the court, still came out and performed, which is this is why like I don't want this to be viewed as criticism. This is more so just what I'm noticing. He averaged 5 a game. Every time that I did see any highlights, lowlights, whatever it was, it's raw, talented, but very unpolished. Yeah. And it's like I don't want to watch him just sit in as a Fort Wayne Mad Ant for a year. I would happily rather see him go to, I don't know, I'm trying to think of other LA schools, UCLA, I think Pepperdine was around there.
I don't want to. He's not going to Pepperdine.
I don't
it's
know.
a Church of Christ school, and they don't allow alcohol on campus. There's no shot he goes there.
Yeah, I know.
Well, Bronny, I think he only got like 12 minutes a game.
It's not he didn't play.
Just fucking astronomical stats with 12 minutes game. You can only do so much and impact the game so much. And there's a fluidity to the game that he has. I think he has a lot of the same kind of IQ capabilities that LeBron has. Like he's just been given that genetically. He understands how the game is supposed to flow, how it's supposed to work. He's a good passer. He can shoot a little bit better than LeBron could when he's 18 years old, obviously. But I think he's got the facilitator gene, and he is an athletic freak as well because he's LeBron James's son. So for him, getting those genes as well, because Michael Jordan's kids didn't get those. With Bronny entering the transfer portal, it only makes me think that he's heading to Mississippi State. You know why? Do you know why?
Go ahead.
Josh Hubbard,
Go ahead.
Best friends, Bronny James. They grew up playing against each other in AAU. They trained with, and Dwayne Wade is Josh Hubbard's godfather, if you didn't know that.
Completely news to me.
So they've known each other for years. They always take pictures together whenever they played against each other in AAU. I'm just spreading the word. Bronny James, Mississippi State, Josh Hubbard connection, Dwayne Wade godfather situation, although I don't ever see LeBron interacting with Dwayne Wade like ever anymore. Neither here nor there.
Weird.
I'm just saying. But I could also see him going to like Duquesne because they were in there. True. And their head coach is Drew Jones, who was LeBron's point guard on his like high school basketball team for St. Vincent St. Mary's, one of his best friends. He's the head coach there. But I could also see him going to just like, could he just go to Duke? Since LeBron he loves Duke and Coach K and all. No, I'm not joking when I say that. Could you just like?
He is joking.
Not really though. Like, could he just go be the 8th man on Duke and get more national coverage and then get drafted that way? I don't know. I'm just I'm not trying to advocate for him to go to Duke or Mississippi State, except for I am advocating for him to go to Mississippi State because that would be very fun. Although we did just get another guard that does the exact same thing as Bronny and Josh Hubbard from Penn State. So I don't know, but.
More than anything, it was kind of a death wish. Pac-12 school in its last year. It kind of a bad omen all around. But really, the vibe that Bronny and Bryce gives me is kind of like the LeVar Ball situation, where LeVar Ball is kind of coming out of nowhere saying LaMelo is better than all of these guys. Just wait. And I kind of view Bronny as more so Alonzo type, and then Bryce as like the LaMelo of the family. So I just feel like once Bryce comes out, he's just going to take the nation by storm because the way his growth spurts, oh my God, over 2 years, he's grown like 8 inches. It's nuts.
How tall is he now?
And I just think by the time
6'7" now,
he's like 6'6", 6'7", dude. Yeah. Like and he still looks like a fucking baby. It's crazy. Yeah. Like once Bryce ends up somewhere, whether it be a year, anywhere. Cool. I was going to say you can't do the G League Ignite anymore. RIP. The zero gravity prophecy became true. I was saying that in December that they should disband it.
Preaching it,
just saying,
in the mountaintops.
Just saying, but it is really cool to see kind of another basketball family take that next step, and we all want to see Bronny be successful, even after or even before the stuff that he's gone through at USC. We know that he has the talent, he has the IQ, he's grown up around basketball. He's fucking LeBron James's kid. Like how else, like how much of a better position could you be in? So I think once he ends up transferring, which would be the ideal situation, because I don't want to see him get drafted 59th and play in the G League for a year. That
No.
would suck. Nobody wants to see that. Where you have to pay to see games
Yeah.
on ESPN Plus. No, not doing it. So I really think he needs to go to another school that can at least, I want to say like a heavy mid major.
I was thinking like
like
a lower level SEC ACC team, because you get to play against Kentucky and Florida and the SEC and Tennessee nowadays, and then on the ACC you obviously get Duke, North Carolina, all NC State now in the Final Four. Like you get to play against nationally branded teams while also getting playing time. I think that's the most important part. I mean, Vandy.
That's not a terrible idea.
Has, what's his nuts, says the coach, right? Jerry Stackhouse. Yeah,
there you go.
Play for an ex-NBA player in Vandy, live in Nashville, Tennessee for a year, call it a day. Nashville's wouldn't be the worst town to be in college.
Chattanooga better.
Simply incorrect. As someone from the actual South, Chattanooga sucks, and I hate Nashville. So Chattanooga's way worse. But it wouldn't be bad to go to college in Nashville. I don't know. It's just he needs to go somewhere where he can get starting minutes or even 6-man minutes, to where he can actually develop in the college game, which the college game is not actually translating to the NBA game. So it doesn't really matter. But
no,
it's interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, we're here for it. Whatever ends up happening.
Good luck to Bronny. Wherever he goes, Mississippi State is home.
I don't. Has anyone ever said that in human history?
I did for 2.5 years when I lived there. That was my home.
You go.
Speaking of people that are back, Joel Embiid, welcome back. 8 weeks to the date when they announced that he had a meniscus injury and had surgery. They never really told us the full extent of the injury, which is very interesting. But 8 weeks to the day, he came back last night against whoever they played, and I heard that he kind of just didn't look very good. Shocker. Big man that gets surgery on his meniscus comes back and doesn't look like the all-world MVP type of caliber player that he was in the first half of the season. So, but Joel Embiid is back, and if he can get back to healthy in the next 2 weeks, we're looking at a fun 7 seed or like if they get the 8 seed, they got to play the Celtics. If Embiid's healthy, like that's not who you want to see in the first round. Them or Miami, those are terrifying teams if you're the 1 or 2 seeds. So, yeah, I hope he comes back and then can actually get healthy. But yeah, welcome back, Joel Embiid.
Yeah, congratulations, brother. I really think that if he just sat out for the rest of the season, of course, the Sixers would have a chance of just not making the play-in altogether. Well, I think that they would have been a 9 or a 10 seed. So it would have been a little harder. They'd have to win 2 games in a row instead of just winning and being in the playoffs. If Joel Embiid for the next 2 weeks just puts up stinkers, and I mean, I think he got 24 last night.
Yeah.
But if he just puts up some stinkers, we're really going to have to start asking questions like, did Philly do the right thing? They should have just shut him down. Like, if Philly ends up going down to they're staying at the 8 or going down to the 9, even with Embiid being there, it's like, was this even worth it? Because now we're getting, 2/3 of an Embiid versus if we just kept him healthy or kept him on track for another 2 weeks, we could have gotten a 90% Embiid for the playoffs. You know what I mean? So this is kind of going to be it's going to be like a shot in the foot situation if everything goes or if anything goes wrong, actually, in Philly. So not looking forward to seeing what's going to happen there.
Philadelphia 76ers would never mismanage their superstars' injuries and fuck anything up. They would never do that. Not the Philadelphia 76ers who have done that for the last decade. No, not them.
The most failed process of all time. That was so cool in the moment. Like, because even when they were losing like 20+ games in a row, we were like, wait, guys, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And
was there?
There just never was. They have not been to an NBA championship.
No, haven't even sniffed it. Haven't even gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals. Haven't gotten out of the second round. I mean, they were a Kawhi like bounce off the rim from making it, and then they just have a rivalry with the Celtics, and they can't beat them. So it's just a one-sided rivalry where they hate them so much, and the Celtics are like, oh, cool, we get to play Philly. This is great. Yeah, good times. Love to see that. But welcome back, Joel Embiid. It's good to see him back. I'm glad he's healthy enough to play. I just don't think he's healthy enough to dominate just yet, and I hope he can get to that point by the end of the season, heading into the playoffs.
Yep, that's the idea for them. That's the best case scenario.
You know what the other best case scenario is? Being like
Talk to me.
7'5" with an 8-foot wingspan, and being able to just do whatever and anything and everything on the court that you wanted to.
Yeah.
Victor Wembanyama. Hell of a march.
What a transition.
Hell of a march.
Wow.
Hell of a march. I know you have the stats pulled up. The Astros are just doing things over here, buddy. I don't know if you're paying attention, but they're doing lots of things. They're up 4-0 if you want to know. Live podcasting. Love that. You're not hearing this until 8 a.m. tomorrow when the game's well over. I hope it's over. If it's not, this can be a real fucking issue. But Victor Wembanyama had an incredible march. He had a 40-20 game in there. He's just, what is he averaging this season? Like 26 or 22.
21.
Yeah, 21. Yeah,
sorry. Slow your roll.
21, like 12 and, I don't know, 4.5 blocks, 5 blocks. Is that right?
3.5, but slow your roll.
The month
he's good.
Of March,
he's not that good.
Like he had to have had that.
The month of March, he's up there. Let me.
And he had 6 blocks the other night. Sorry
you.
for overshooting his block numbers. Jesus
well,
Christ.
Hold on. Let me give it to you straight. So he's averaging 23.2 points a game, 4.5 turnovers a game, which is awesome. 1.2 steals, 3.8 blocks. Which, if you combine those two, yes, that equals 5.0.
I should have just said stocks. Would have had it.
Yeah, there you go. 5 assists, 12 rebounds, shooting 75% from the line, only 31% from 3. But he has had a couple games where it's 50 and up. 3 for 4, 2 for 4. He did have a 3 for 12 stinker and a loss to Memphis. Which if you're watching Memphis versus Spurs, that's kind of on you at that point.
You didn't want to watch the Gigi Jackson masterclass where he had 40 the other night?
There you go. No. Shout out Ryan Russillo, though, for saying on his pod, he said, I turned off LSU Iowa, the women's basketball game, to watch Trailblazers Magic. I want to love ball as much as Ryan Russillo, of course, but that's just psychopathic. And he's getting dunked on Twitter. He got called a Walmart Clay Travis, which was just out of nowhere.
I was howling. I saw it on the timeline after I'd already sent you the other tweet from that account. That was good.
Incredible
I
work.
listened to the Bill Simmons Monday pod with Ryan Russillo. They do the Monday pods, obviously. And it's so bad this year. It's just awful, and I can't stop listening. It's like I'm not hate watching or hate listening to the podcast. It's just there's some type of serotonin that comes into my body whenever Bill Simmons and Ryan Russillo hit my ears. And I don't know why, but I can't stop. And my wife hates it. Whenever we're on road trips, so we came down to Houston the other day, moved into the new Apollo office. Big deal. First podcast was shot today. Beyond the Diamond. Check out the Apollo HOU YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell. Never miss an episode. But moved into the new office, and on the way there, I was like, hey, I have to listen to Bill Simmons. Like, it's a 2-hour podcast. Like, we'll listen to your podcast first, and then I'm grinding it out. And she's like, can we, like, not? And then she kept trying to talk in the middle of the podcast, and I'd keep having to pause, and she would look at me. I'm like, look, I'm listening to it to its completion. I don't care. Like, I have to. I just have to. And it's just, she said it pierces her ears. Like, it makes her ears bleed. Like Bill Simmons' voice, essentially.
Yeah, I don't blame her at all for that. Incredible.
All-time moment. But he sucked off Wemby a lot in that podcast as well. So,
right.
Segue back.
Yeah, there you go. Back to it. People are arguing if he should be DPOY or not, Defensive Player of the Year. It boggles my mind because Rudy Gobert is getting boxed out by Alex Caruso, someone who is probably a foot and a foot shorter than him, and he's bitching and moaning, and because he was just out of position. It's insane, and Wemby is just miles ahead at such a young age. Well, Rudy Gobert has a much bigger and better team around him. Of course, anyone can say that, but it just takes so much to lead so little. And seeing what Wemby has been doing with that awful, awful Spurs team, that should mean more because DPOYs and individual awards outside of the MVP, that should not matter with anything with standings. The MVP stuff I get because Russell Westbrook beating Harden that 1 year when he was a 6 or 7 or was he an 8 seed and he won it? Remember that year? I think it was 17 or 18, maybe.
Russell Westbrook won as a 6 seed, I think, is what it was in
2016, and everyone was pissed,
right? 2016,
yeah,
2017.
I'm not saying he got robbed off stats because he was averaging a triple double the whole year,
and he carried the team to the 6 seed, like with no one else. Like he had what,
Yeah.
Thabo Sefolosha and Andre Roberson's, like, broken knee and Steven Adams, like, he had
Yeah.
nothing on the team to help him out.
Nightmare 3-point
Right, it was just
rotation.
all like, there's no spacing on that team. It was all Russell Westbrook. He hits that crazy buzzer beater against the Nuggets at the end of the season. He
Yeah.
carried that team to a 6 seed, which is what Luka Doncic is doing, and except for it's gonna be a 5 seed, and it's, like, the same kinda numbers. I'm just saying, MVP voters, if you're listening,
Just
which you're
saying.
probably not, but please do, Luka Doncic. Just saying. But, yeah, Wemby is the best defensive player in the game. Why are we not gonna give him the at least the consideration to make him the defensive player of the year, if not just making him
Yeah.
defensive player of the year? I get that Gobert's the anchor of a number one defense. Can we also talk about how Naz Reid's on the team? I mean, Anthony Edwards is a great guard defender. Like, he plays both ways. He chooses to play both ways, which is not seen
Yeah.
from a lot of guards in the NBA anymore. When you have a bunch of guys that can play defense, your job as the anchor makes your defense a lot easier like to play because you don't have to worry about one
Yeah.
thing, as opposed to when he played on the Jazz, which he was more so much gratitude for him in Minnesota, I'm sure now, where other people play defense, because Donovan Mitchell did not play defense and he had to cover up for him and whoever else was on those Jazz teams that got torched by Jalen Brunson in the first round. Like, he was the only guy that could play defense on those teams. So yes, he won Defensive Player of the Year because he was the only reason they had any defense. The Spurs, they don't have anybody on the team that I would take into next year, like, at all. Like, on our roster in the NBA, I would not want a single piece on their team outside of Victor Wembanyama. And there's the
Yeah.
only reason. I mean, they don't have a lot of wins, but if he wasn't there, they wouldn't have any. They just have 0 wins. They would be winless.
No.
They would be worse than the Pistons and the Wizards this year. They would be the worst team in the NBA history without Victor Wembanyama. And he's the best defender in the NBA because he does freakish things, and you can't discredit that because he's 7'4" and he's a rookie, and they don't win games. The only reason that they have won any games and there are any Spurs highlights is because of him and his freakishly long arms. It's because of his long arms that he's a great defender, but he's also got great footwork and all the other things that go with it. Yeah, if we're not giving Wemby Defensive Player of the Year votes, I don't know what we're doing. And Brian Windhorst said it on his podcast, and Tim Bontemps was yelling at him like, "Are you a fucking idiot? Gobert's he's the guy on the best defensive team in the league." That doesn't mean that he's the reason they're the number one team defense in the league necessarily. He's definitely a part of it, but he's not the one main reason they are.
Yeah, that's all it is. I going back to the Timberwolves here, somebody said shout out Anthony Edwards for tanking his stats over the past 2 weeks so he doesn't get the all NBA team supermax. He's such a team player.
He's a great guy, you know.
Yeah, no, and that's what boggles my mind about the Rockets losing against the Timberwolves. It's like you had a 1 in a 10 to 20 game Anthony Edwards stinker, and you couldn't do much with that. That's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Rudy Gobert for years has just been the most annoying NBA player since the whole COVID situation, and
Even
truly,
it's the worst. I hated him.
I think honestly, and I know you would agree with me here because at the beginning of the season we were shitting on Wemby. I was shitting on Wemby. You were shitting on Wemby. You've always stood tall on Wemby because I've kind of come around on Wemby. But the entire equipment manager situations,
I won't get over
multiple.
it. I don't give a shit if he's 18, 19 years old. Fuck him.
Yeah, no. So it just goes to show you that you know, the French might have lost the war, but they come back about 250 years later and just put the absolute two most annoying people on American basketball airways. This is really fucked up.
So bad, man. The French people. I was just trying to find a nice little restaurant, and my phone like died or something. I was in Paris, and I know Parisians are like not the quintessential French person. I get it. It's like New York City in France, whatever. I was just trying to find the place. Pulled up the address, pulled up a picture of it. I was like, "Hey, where's this?" And they're like, "You're American?" I'm like, "Uh-huh." No dice, just no help. The waiters were mean. The waitresses were mean. Had a handful of nice people talk to me. Like the hotel people, great, delightful. Everybody else sucked. I hate the Parisians. I hate the French. I hate Wemby.
Yeah, they don't get paid to be nice to you outside of the hotel.
He's really good at defense, and he's doing things that we've never seen in this league for quite some time. Like, I think Manu Bol averaged 5 blocks a game, 4.5 blocks a game his rookie season.
He better. He fucking
Right.
better.
But like 4.5 blocks his rookie season, he didn't win MVP or Defensive Player of the Year. Whatever. But that was his rookie season. Whatever. He deserves to have votes. I don't care if he wins it or not, but he deserves to have votes, and I hate him. So.
Sure. I'm so glad your unbiased reporting is just oozing out of your mental right now. I
bringing
love that
the Texas rivalries back single-handedly here, and no one's fucking helping me.
Well, the Mavericks are helping by losing to the Warriors, so that's a whole team that you can
the Rockets.
Thank.
And the Spurs, you can. I'm not gonna say it. I was gonna say something really bad.
No.
Let's talk about something I have a gripe with. It's not these people necessarily. Chauncey Billups and Vince Carter were voted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, not the NBA Hall of Fame. That's the first problem I have. It's not an NBA Hall of Fame. It's a Basketball Hall of Fame. Separate it. We'll do a Basketball Hall of Fame. We'll do a College Basketball Hall of Fame and an NBA Hall of Fame. Please and thank you. Just like college football has their own Hall of Fame and the NFL has their own Hall of Fame. Separate it. Please. I don't need both. I don't need it. I don't care. I want the Hall of Fame to be not necessarily hard to get into if you're a legend and stature of the game. Like Vince Carter, absolutely deserving. He played 20 years. He scored a lot of points. He had a lot of good moments, and he won a ring with the like. He's there. He played forever. He learned how to evolve his game and shoot threes at the end. He did a lot of good things, and he won a really cool slam dunk competition in 2000. Okay, Chauncey Billups.
It's over, ladies and gentlemen.
Billups was the best player on a finals team, won a finals 2004. Great point guard, deserving. Sure. Can we make it harder to get in the Hall of Fame, please? Everyone gets in. Blake Griffin's going to get in. Blake Griffin's going to get in the Hall of Fame. Do you think Blake Griffin deserves to be in a Hall of Fame? When you think about it, the MLB is too hard to get into. And the writers first.
Yes.
Let the steroid users, certain steroid users in. I don't care if Kurt Schilling gets in or not because he's an asshole, but he deserves to be in. He's the best postseason pitcher of all time. He has the best stats. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, the best hitter and the best pitcher arguably of all time in MLB, are not in the Hall of Fame because everyone was using steroids, but we're just going to overlook Big Papi because he didn't he definitely did steroids. Jeff Bagwell,
he did
steroids. Craig Biggio, he did steroids. I mean, they were literally caught with it was acceptable by the MLB at the time. Whatever. I don't care. Those people deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. But a lot of basketball players don't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame and are in the Hall of Fame. I'm just saying, they didn't contribute enough in their NBA careers to outweigh their one good season in college or one good season at in Europe or wherever they
right.
That doesn't matter to me. Luka doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame yet.
He's played for 5 years, 6
Correct.
years.
But Blake Griffin's going to get in, and he only played for a decade, and he didn't really do anything outside of his first.
That's double the time. Whoa. Hold on. Where did this Blake Griffin hatred come from? If he didn't dunk over the car, I wouldn't feel the way I feel.
Awesome player. His peak was 2.5 seasons, 3 seasons, and he was a top 5 player in the NBA. I will give. He was in the top. He should have been top 5 in the MVP for a number of seasons. He was very good, and he was on one of the best teams in the West.
Mm-hmm.
Peak and longevity matter for a Hall of Fame status. Look at the NFL.
Yes.
It took Terrell Owens 3 or 4 different years before he when he was eligible. So he's eligible for it takes 5 years to become eligible. He had to wait another 4 years. He's the 3rd best wide receiver in the game of the history of football at the time. And it took him that long to get in. Chad Ochocinco is not going to make it, but he was probably the 3rd best wide receiver in the game at the time that he played, and he had longevity and he has the stats. Make it hard to get in the Hall of Fame. That's my issue. I just don't like that. Yao Ming's in the Hall of Fame. Yao Ming played for how many years? And how?
Don't you ever be
targeting towards a Rockets legend. I loved Yao Ming as a child. I did. I promise. I'm just saying that the Hall of Fame is too easy to get into because Yao Ming only played 7-8 years. He didn't play very long, and they're just he was really tall and opened the doors to China, and now the NBA makes a ton of money off of China. He did a lot of things. He did a lot of good things. He didn't. I
Right.
don't think he did enough to get into the Hall of Fame. That's all I'm saying.
Sure. If you want to pull out that argument, sure. I think that Daryl Morey just absolutely like ruining any relationship that the Rockets had with China that Yao Ming spent
That
years
was
trying to build was objectively
that was funny.
hilarious.
And then LeBron backing China was also very funny. So
Awesome stuff, dude. I love this league. Only this league. People say, "Oh, football owns America. Football owns Sundays." No, bitch. Primetime Sundays in March and April own my life. Yeah, I'm not
all right,
America.
Ryan.
Sorry.
The Hall of Fame is a good thing. We should celebrate more players in the MLB. We should celebrate more players in the NFL. Not too many more. Like there's only 300 players in the NFL Hall of Fame. I think it's like the same kind of number for the MLB. The MLB's been playing for 100+ years. There's only like 200 something names in there. I like how hard it is, but I think it should be a little bit easier, or it should be more lenient towards players that are very much deserving to be in. Like if Derek Jeter's getting a fucking unanimous vote or one off of a unanimous vote into the Hall of Fame, why the fuck is the best hitter and the best pitcher not in the MLB Hall?
No, completely. Okay, I completely agree there. The main problem that I have is I thought that this was going to delve into some situation where you were like, fuck Chauncey Billups, fuck
they
Vince
were very good.
Which
they had
thank God
and they put up good stats. And obviously, with Chauncey winning a finals, like being the best player on a finals team, you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm fine with those types of players getting in, with the longevity, with the certain peak, with the finals appearance, or like because winning does matter at the end of the day. Like to get into to the most prestigious part of basketball lore, which is what the Hall of Fame should be, in a celebration of that, Chauncey Billups deserves. I'm good with that. It's too easy because they count college and European and Olympic and NBA, like, which I guess it goes into a whole career. Yeah. I get that, but like college is one thing. Like it's over there. College football greats don't get into the NFL Hall of Fame because their college was so good. Like Tim Tebow's arguably one of the best college football players.
But it's not an NBA Hall of Fame. You just said it yourself.
But it needs to be. That's what I'm saying. That's why I have an issue with it. It's like they just allow anyone and everyone to get in.
Well, hold on. Let me just say this, and we can leave it or keep it, whatever you want to do. The amount. Okay, so when you say basketball lore, like that includes everything because basketball is just like it's everywhere. It's football is mainly American. Baseball is American and mostly in Asian countries. But basketball is everywhere. So I feel like
Europe and America. When you think about it, and then the MLB, they have the Mexican leagues, they have the Latin American, like the Dominican leagues, they have all those leagues as well, which kind of is the same thing as Europe. When you think about it, they have the similar comparisons, and then they have this whole college basketball thing. Like Christian Laettner doesn't deserve to be in the Basketball Hall of Fame. He was really good for 4 years at Duke. He's in the Hall of Fame. Like,
and you're a Duke guy saying this. This is respect.
He played, I think, 10 years in the NBA, 9 years or something like that. He was
one-time All-Star. People forget.
And he was on the Dream Team, which he shouldn't have been. He should have been Shaq or literally anybody else. I'm saying that as a Duke fan, that I love Christian Laettner. Like, I love the documentaries. I love all the highlights, all the March Madness highlights when they pull up the Kentucky shot. Like, it's the best. He deserves to be in the College Basketball Hall of Fame.
Right. I'm following you. When I think of like basketball greatness, I want it to all be attached as one. So, it's hard for me to, really support just an NBA one because basketball, like I said, it's just there's so much. And you can even look at this like you just said for baseball too. Like the Cuban guys who are like Yuli Gurriel who played in Cuba until he was like 33, 34.
He would be an MLB
like he deserves to
Hall of Famer potentially. He could have 3,000 hits and all these World Series moments and all that with the Astros, but he only had 5-6 good years in the MLB, and it was really only 4 or 5 really good years in the MLB. Like he was a batting title, like he has World Series moments and some celebrations that we won't talk about that doesn't need to be mentioned at all. But he could have hit 3,000 hits. Like he's the best Cuban hitter like ever. He's a god over there. And he came over when he was 34, 35. He's old when he came over in 2017. So, if there was a baseball Hall of Fame, he'd definitely be in it because he led the like the best Cuban team to the most champion. Like he won a bunch of championships with the
Yeah,
Cuban team. And he has the most.
but that's what makes it cool is knowing that the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame is just everything. Because Gino Auriemma, did I say his name right? That's always been hard
Yeah, I
for
don't know
me.
how to say his name. Gino.
Auriemma,
Yeah, UConn women's coach. Yeah.
Gino, the UConn women's basketball coach. He deserves his own he deserves multiple statues, because the way he's brought the women's game over the past 30 years, 40 years is just miles ahead of everybody else. Coach Wooden for UCLA, we can go on and on and on and on for these pioneers, modern and non-modern, but
Yeah.
sure, the NBA might need a Hall of Fame, but if you are gonna separate them, make it a college basketball, make it a Euro League, make a fucking G League Hall of Fame with that one dude. What was his name? Andre, who was like 35. He played for the Lakers against the Rockets that one
Yeah, I
game.
remember him. Was that
Yeah, there you go. He needs to be in the G League Hall of Fame. He was there for
he was
10
there
years.
forever. Yeah, I would just like to separate it, because then you can actually recognize the greatness for like what they were really great for. Because like some players still come in, like Dwight Howard's he's definitely gonna make the Hall of Fame, and he was
He
an incredible
should.
player. He has a finals appearance. He was the best player, like defensive player of the years. He has a slam dunk contest. He fucking dominated, and he like, I don't know where he is on the rebounds list, but he's probably fucking up there. He was averaging 14 or whatever,
Oh yeah.
like multiple
Oh
seasons.
yeah.
He was incredible. He was one of the best players on the planet. I get that, but they're also gonna mention his high school stats when he gets in the Hall of Fame. The high school stats aren't gonna matter. They're gonna
Oh,
mention all of
true.
that. That's gonna be a part of his Hall of Fame, like inductee, like on the plaque. It's gonna mention his high school stats, which no one gave a fuck. He was the number one pick. Like, he was very good at basketball. And number one pick in what, 2004, 2005, whatever it was. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
all fine and fucking dandy. Don't care. His
Mm-hmm.
NBA is what matters. Give me the NBA Hall of Fame. Give me the College Basketball Hall of Fame. And then you can have the Basketball Hall of
Sure.
Fame for the Euros and all the Real Madrid legends where they keep winning titles
Yep.
because they're the best team over there. Shout out.
Yeah, Rudy Fernandez,
Shout
Trailblazers
out Los
legend.
Blancos, Real Madrid, a la Madrid forever.
There it is. Yeah, man. I'm really just happy that we can at least look at it, and the more you spoke about it, the more it kind of all made sense. But I'm just, when I think of it, especially in like a Hall of Fame sense, the primes for baseball are 15 years, damn near. Like if you have a crazy prospect and you're 22, you can play until you're 45 if you want to. But it's like a 15-year prime. In the NFL, it's like a 5-year prime. In the NBA, it's like a 10 or so year prime. You know what I mean? Especially for like running backs in the NFL too. Like running backs, linebackers, cornerbacks, like they're going through it over there. But so that's probably why it is the way it is too, especially with the MLB values longevity crazy. They're not given. I think I think Jose Reyes and David Wright were on the ballot. Did David Wright make it? I don't know if he did. But those guys were like guys who like made my childhood. I loved them. I loved them play, but they didn't have long enough primes to make it really worth the
injuries
while.
killed David Wright, and then Jose Reyes. I
Yep.
don't really know what happened to him. He just like became bad at baseball when he signed a big deal.
Literally out of nowhere. Same thing with the Troy Tulowitzki out of
He
nowhere.
kept getting hurt.
Like,
It was the turf toe in
yeah.
Toronto that kept giving him, because they have the fake grass, and it kept fucking his toes up.
Yeah,
I like the Hall of Fame. I want it to be for the like greatest players, but also I don't want it to be like the MLB where it's old white guys just saying, no, you can't be in the MLB Hall of Fame because I don't like you. I didn't have good interactions with you when I covered you when you played. I don't want, keep all of that out. Give me like Jeff Passan was on Pardon My Take today, and he says he won't vote in the MLB Hall of Fame until like they let the steroid users in, because he said Barry Bonds was the best best hitter he's ever seen play before the steroid. And then he used steroids in an era where everyone used steroids for the most part. Probably 90% of the MLB was probably using it, but they're not going to let him in because he did it for like 3-4 years at the end of his career, where he has the most home runs. I mean, he had like just more walks and more like intentional walks than anyone ever will probably have in their career ever.
Yeah, 600 on base
Roger
percentage.
Clemens has like 7 Cy Youngs. World Series champs. Like, let him in. Let those guys in.
The resume is
But
crazy.
it's
That's
all
all
too
it is. I get it.
political. And then the Basketball Hall of Fame's like the exact opposite. They're like, you played basketball? Get in here, buddy.
Get in here, buddy.
That's my problem, is like when they do the Hall of Fame inductions, it's like, who's at the Hall of Fame inductions? NBA players. When was
Yeah.
the last time that you saw someone get inducted to the Hall of Fame that, like, when they do the players, when was the last time you see someone get in there in the Hall of Fame that wasn't an NBA player? They're
Right.
all NBA
Right.
players anyway, so let's just make it the NBA Hall of Fame and then have a separate section for the Naismith Hall of Fame. We'll call it that. You can have
Sure.
it all in the same
Sure.
place, wherever is it? What, Springfield? Like, I don't know where. Like, I'm never
Yeah.
gonna
Springfield, Mass, I
fucking
think.
attend, so it's fine. Like, everyone gets in, but if everyone's gonna get in, let's have a let's do the Bill Simmons pyramid. It's the one thing he's done in sports journalism that's actually made fucking sense. Do the
Damn it.
pyramid, have the levels, so everyone can still get in, but there's levels to this shit. Do it that way. I'll be happy with that. If you're gonna let everybody in, at least have like a pyramid level.
Yeah, sure. You are right. Bill Simmons is an absolute
It's
dickhead,
the one
but
thing he did right.
he had a run there. He had a run there for a
Look
minute.
at basketball. It's the one thing he kind of did right,
Oh
except for
man.
like all the porn references and weird sitcom stuff that he put in there. Outside of that, it was really good.
Well, can we? Okay, let me do a quick flash minute here of Chauncey Billups, Vince Carter's careers. When Chauncey Billups was a member of the Denver
Mhm,
Nuggets, that was like a peak team for me growing up. That I think it was 07, 08.
mhm.
Because there was a point where no, I was gonna say it wasn't AI Billups, no, because AI and Billups got
Yep.
traded for each other. But there was a solid run there with that team. I think it was JR, Chauncey, Melo, Birdman, Marcus Camby, where top to bottom, it was just vibes. And truly, like, other than especially the Rockets team that year, because that was the year we won 22 in a row, that was one of my favorite teams of all time. Vince Carter, longevity, man, myth, Dallas Maverick legend.
Yes,
Um,
indeed.
that COVID game is, it's something that really got like kind of put on the back burner because so much has happened in sports over the past 4 years. But we're gonna look back on those on that moment as like, holy shit, this was like one of the biggest deals at the time. I think it was same night as Rudy Gobert too. But outside of the negatives for Vince Carter's career, the man played forever. He adopted the 3-point shot at the end of his career. Well, he was the main scoring option in New
Yeah,
Jersey, but he really came on his own. And those corner 3 game winners, the all time vibes he brought around. He stopped dunking at fucking 35, but he still played for like 7 more
yeah.
years. He was doing it, man. So shout out Vince, shout out Chauncey. Seriously, 2 guys that I loved watching growing up. Outside that, it was almost like they were healthier versions of like a fused Tracy McGrady together. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was just good vibes all around. Love watching both of
And
them
Vince
play.
Carter scored 25,700 points in his career. Like, not a
Yeah.
lot of people get to have done that in the
No,
NBA. So
no.
longevity mattered. Like, he played for fucking ever to get to that point and developed a 3-point
Yeah.
shot.
He retired at like
Right.
42.
And he also like sat out a season and a half probably for the Raptors because he didn't want to play there anymore and wanted to get traded. We'll leave that part out.
John Wall
I
vibes,
haven't
and then but it actually worked
hadn't
out for
forgot
him.
about that, Vince. Last thing
Yeah.
before we go, it's very quickly. Steve Clifford steps down from the Charlotte Hornets coach job. It looks like I'm going to be the head coach of the Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah, that's all we got, folks. Charlotte is in hell. You thought that the 2021-2022 Rockets teams were bad. This is much worse because there's almost no looking up at this point. Nobody's going to Charlotte for free
No,
agency.
they got Grant
It's
Williams
not a
though. They got
hopping.
Grant Williams,
No,
my
no.
best friend, Grant Williams.
Yeah. Airport. God rest the airport pole. At the I think it was
It was
Dallas Fort Worth
Dallas Love.
Airport, Love
Dallas
Field.
Love. Yeah,
Yeah, man. R.I.P. If you have not found it, or if not searched it up, Grant
that pool was
Williams
so
Airport
fucking
pole.
big too.
I was just gonna
I've
say
seen it in person.
it's probably could fill up my entire
Enormously
kitchen. Like,
large,
it's ridiculously
and it
huge.
was just his fat face on it. Fuck you, Grant Williams. Yeah, fucking pissed off, man.
Well, that's talking Charlotte Hornets. That might have been the first or second
That's
time we've
very
done
funny
that
that
this
he
year.
stepped down though. Just kind of like
Yeah,
2 weeks left. He's like, you know what? I don't really want to go to work tomorrow, so I'm just gonna call it a day.
I'm good. No, he's gonna
Oh,
finish
he
out
is?
the year.
Okay, so he turned into 2 weeks
But
notice.
yeah, no, it's gonna be he's gonna move more into an advisor role, and I would say great value Brad Stevens here, but that's given Steve Clifford a
Yeah,
compliment.
okay.
Longtime Rockets assistant. Shout out Steve Clifford for the work that he did here, but boy, buddy, you got a lot of work to do over there.
Yeah, that's
So
brutal.
Yeah.
Good for Charlotte.
That's it. That's all I got on that. Thanks for watching,
that was
guys.
a long one. I went on a very long tangent about the Hall of Fame. I'm very passionate about it, and I've been wanting to talk about it for months, and here we are.
There it is. You got it. The floor was yours. You had it. You owned
Fix
it.
the Hall of Fame. That's all I'm asking. Just put me and Bill Simmons in charge. I'll calm him down. I'll make sure he doesn't say a lot of weird things to people, and just take his good ideas away from the bad, and then I'll separate it, and then I'll come to you with all the great stuff. This has been Zero Gravity, Apollo Media's NBA podcast, brought to you by Big City Wings, Houston's Wing Joint, Apollo's Wing Joint. Go check them out today if you're in Houston. Great people, great beer, great wings over at Big.
WrestleMania watch party. Sorry to interrupt. WrestleMania watch party. I think it's Sunday. They're doing it at the Marquee location. Is that correct?
I believe that is correct. You can check out our social medias at Apollo HOU on Twitter and Instagram to get the real details, times, location, address, all of the things over at Big City Wings. Go to that watch party if you're into the wrestling stuff. I don't really know anything about wrestling.
Just act like you're interested. And keep going, buddy.
Big deal. I know it's a big deal because y'all were talking about it in the office the other day, and I know the Summit boys are really excited about it. Another watch party, if you're into the baseball, the Houston baseball team is playing the Arlington baseball team on Friday night. Go over to Space Cadet. Also on our social media channels, go to Apollo HOU on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all the things. All the details are there for Space Cadet. We're viewing the Houston baseball team versus the Arlington baseball team because you're not allowed to say watch party, according to the MLB.
Good to know. Well, you just did.
Well, I didn't say it was a watch party. I said it was a viewing of the Houston baseball team and the Arlington baseball team because you're not allowed to say watch party.
Yeah, you didn't say.
We're
not
having a watch party. We're viewing a baseball game.
I'm building a Rico on you. I'm just letting you know now.
Come after me, MLB. You've already done it 6 times in the last 2 years. So, anyway, shout out to Celebrity Mint. Go check out celebritymint.com to see their graded legal tender collectibles of Mike Tyson, Ric Flair, and more. Follow them on social media at the Celebrity Mint. And shout out to our daily fantasy sponsor, Prize Picks. Go check out Prize Picks. Use code Apollo when you sign up and get up to $100 match on your first deposit with Prize Picks, where you hit more or less on each and every stat for each and every player, each and every night, in every sport. Go check out Prize Picks. Use code Apollo when you sign up. This has been Zero Gravity, Apollo Media's NBA podcast.